Welcome to What's Going On, the weekly podcast and videocast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of What's Going On. I'm Pastor Katie here at First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota, and I'm glad you could join me for this episode. This episode, we're going to talk more about how things are kicking off this fall. We've got some things going, we've got some things coming, and we want to make sure that you are finding the thing that you can plug into to be a part of this community, to be a part of what God is doing in the world through us. And so I want to kind of dive right in and talk a little bit about what has been happening and what will be happening and go from there. So last night we had our second night of our Wednesday night worship. I'm recording this on Thursday, so if you're listening to this on a different day, when I'm using those kind of references, that's what I mean. I would say that, August 31st, we had our second night of Wednesday worship. And again, we had about 60 people there, but we had different people, which was great. I will say we had new people that were brand new to the church who saw that we were offering a Wednesday night worship and wanted to come see it and try it out. We had people that we haven't seen in a while. We had people that were our kind of regular Sunday attenders who wanted to find out what it was about, to check it out, to see what it is that I've been talking about with it. And so it was really fun. It was our first time doing communion on a Wednesday night, which was also really great and worked really well. And we adjusted some things with our 605 that I think worked really well. So one of the changes in 605 is that the kids end their time in the sanctuary singing and doing that. And we did that on purpose because then we were going to lead into worship. And that way the families that were planning to stay didn't have to go downstairs and then come back up. The kids could just stay there in the worship space. Otherwise, the rest of the families will meet their kids in the lounge right outside of the sanctuary, and that just allows for a little bit smoother transition between the two events. And I think that worked really well, and so we'll continue to go about it that way. I do want to give a big shout out and thank you to the women's Bible study. We have a women's Bible study that's been going here in the church for a very long time. And they decided a while ago that they were going to take last night as their night to serve the meal. And again, this is not just a 605 meal anymore. This is a meal for entire families. And so it's been really great to have more people get involved in that. And we are going to continue to look for more people. We've got Carol Becker, who's kind of our standard tried and true. She knows what she's doing, but she's always going to need help. She's always going to need support, always going to need people to partner with her. Maybe you want to help some week with providing food or help some week with serving or cleaning up. Those are all things that we're going to need. But this last Wednesday, we had this Bible study group that said, we're going to do it. Carol's on vacation. We're going to take charge. We're going to get it set up. We're going to provide the food. We're going to clean up. We're going to serve it. And they did an amazing job. They even went so far as having a theme. So we had tacos and watermelon and corn. And then we had I felt like I was, eating at a Mexican restaurant. I mean, the food was that good and the decor was fun. They even had little surprises for the kids taped under the chairs at different, I'm not saying everyone has to do that, but I am saying that they set the bar pretty high, and it was great and appreciated. And they were just so lovely. They went around and were filling people's cups. And it was the servant heart that I saw in these women that just made me so happy and so proud to have them as a part of our church. Also, we had Tiffany hosted a youth parents night last night for the parents to kind of learn about what's going on with the youth group this year, kind of some different events. One big thing that's coming up next summer is that every 4 years, the United Methodist Church hosts a youth conference for the youth of the United Methodist Church. It's a global thing, really. And so this coming summer it'll come up again. And so that's something that the youth are figuring out and deciding, getting signed up for that. But there will be some fundraising that'll be happening throughout the year to help pay for that trip because it's a bigger trip. And so keep your eye out for that. Or if you are a parent of a youth or grandparent of a youth and you want to know more information about that, please reach out to Tiffany. They've got a lot of good things coming up this year, a lot of fun events. Also, Tiffany's been working with the youth pastors and youth workers at Trinity Lutheran and the UCC Church about doing some fun things together. Our youth groups together, having kind of a bigger thing happen once in a while. And so I'm really excited about that. I think it's great every time that we can be working with other churches and having a greater witness in the community in that way. And also for our youth, who have friends in these other churches to connect, to say that, we're all Christian, we all love and worship and serve the same God, and to be able for them to relate and to build and to grow in their discipleship in that way too, I think is really, really wonderful. So we've got those things going. If you're interested in plugging into the youth ministry, talk with Tiffany. She's going to be needing adults in the room to help with our safe sanctuary policy. But also, again, never underestimate the importance of showing up for our children and youth. Just being a presence, being someone who's saying, I'm going to give them my time for you. I don't know what that looks like, but I'm just going to be here. It's the same premise that we have for our Kids Hope program that we do in Beadle Elementary, where a Kids Hope mentor really is giving of their time and their consistency, that one hour a week, I'm just going to show up and be there for you. It's the same idea that we have for our children and youth ministry here. We do kind of the heavy lifting of Tiffany is the one who is overseeing it. She's making the plan. She's making the decisions. She's kind of got a youth and children's group that helps her with that. If you're interested or have experience with that or would like to be part of that, again, talk with Tiffany. She is very open to those conversations. She's always looking for people who want to get plugged in, who want to be invested. But if you're like, I don't really know much about it, but I can give them my time. I can show up and be a presence. That's I can do that. I would love for you to visit with her about that and see what that could be. Another way that you can invest in the life of youth is that starting next week, our confirmation program is going to kick off, and our confirmation students do have to have a mentor for that program, and that's someone who's involved in the life of the church here, and preferably not a family member. We want, again, our students to get to know people outside of their families, to be connected beyond their families in the church community. And so if you have a student who's starting confirmation and they ask you to be their mentor, I want you to know that that is a huge thing that they're asking. They know that that's a big deal, and the fact that they feel comfortable enough to ask you and they're wanting you to be the person that invests in their life. I hope you see that as the honor that it is, and you prayerfully consider that, because it's an important thing that you can do to invest in the life of someone else, which is what we're all called to do. We're all called to invest in the discipleship of others. And that's a really special way to do that. So yeah, next week begins confirmation. We are inviting parents and mentors to that meeting to get kind of an overview and kind of kick off. So confirmation begins immediately following the worship service on Wednesday nights. So right at the last song, if they want to clip out and go to the confirmation room, I'll be there as soon as I can get there, and we'll run confirmation from 7 to about 7:45. At 7:45, the confirmation students can then join the youth group, and they will get to do kind of all the fun things with youth group too. Youth group is going to start before that, but basically, as confirmation kids are doing their lesson with me, the older youth group kids will be doing their lesson. And so confirmation kids won't get double lessons. Kind of for the 2 years that they're in confirmation, their lesson time part of youth group will be with me instead. And that's kind of how we're doing that. But we still want them to have the fun and fellowship of youth group as well. This coming Wednesday is also the kickoff of all of our bell groups and chimes. So we have Kingdom Chimes, and that is our youngest kids, and that is instead of bells, they use these chimes. So if you have a kid, I think it's kindergarten through 5th grade, that is a great opportunity for them to 1st grade through 5th grade from 4:45 to 5:15. So that's kind of your introduction into the world of bell choir and chimes, and then they'll get to share and perform in worship services both on Wednesday night and Sunday mornings, and you'll get the schedule for that as that gets going. But the goal is that they would be sharing in worship about once a month. And then we have a group that we're bringing back that we haven't had in the last couple of years, and that is a group called Agape Bells, and that is for people from sixth grade and older through adult. Maybe if you're newer to bells, if the Jubilee bell time doesn't work for you, Agape Bells is going to be meeting right after worship until about 7:30, 7:40-ish. So the people that are going to not be eligible for Agape Bells is going to be our confirmation students, because that's the same time that confirmation is running. But if you've never played in bells before and you think, that sounds really cool, that looks really cool, that would be a great group to get involved with, Agape Bells might be a great opportunity for you. It's going to, again, be a little bit more learning some of the basics. The songs will be maybe a little bit simpler, but still really fun and really engaging group. And then we have our Jubilee Bells, and that's kind of our adult bell choir group, and they're meeting from 5:30 to 6:10. So they're going to be meeting right before worship, and they're going to end and basically come to worship. And that's the group that is the little bit more experienced group. It's adults. Again, if that's the time that works for you, you are going to be more than welcome to be a part of that group. We want anyone who is interested in bells, and Sue is a very experienced teacher. She can help you and work with you so that you can play in whatever group works for you to play with, but we're very excited about that. So that starts next week. So does Chancel Choir. They will be rehearsing Wednesday nights after the worship service, so about 7:15 or so until 8. The Chancel Choir, and that's singing, and they will primarily share and help lead in worship on Sunday mornings. But it's not to say that you won't see them on a Wednesday night here and there. We're still kind of figuring out the schedule and how that looks. But everyone is welcome to try that out, to be a part of that group as well. And they typically share at least twice a month in worship. And so we're very pleased to have that be starting next week as well. Always, worship team is a great place for you to plug in if you like contemporary music. Maybe you play an instrument. I did see, I'm just putting it out there, but Sarah, our praise team director, cleaned our praise team storage room the other day, and oh my gosh, it's beautiful. It's immaculate. It's great. But I did see a tambourine in there. And I was very tempted to be like, Sarah, maybe you need a little tambourine. I would not be the person to play that. I do not have great rhythm. But maybe you do. Maybe the tambourine is your calling in this church. And if that is, God bless you. And we have one. So, we just want you to know that we're really open to having people plug in. If this is something you want to try out, this is the time to do it. This is the time. Remember that our Wednesday night services are not broadcast out. We like to have fun. We like to have energy. And it's really just a time for all of us to praise God and be invested and involved in that. And so that's always available to you as well. So those are all of our music options. And then also, I don't know if you know, a couple weeks ago, we had Hannah Irwin, not a couple weeks ago, was this Sunday. That's where my brain is right now. Share and play a song on her viola. I don't know that I've known anyone who's played the viola before, Hannah. So if you have an instrument, if you have a special talent that you were like, I don't know if the viola fits in praise team, which we would figure it out. I know there's praise teams that have violins, and a viola is violin with extra capabilities. Consider special music. Consider asking us, because again, we're going to try to plug you in wherever we can, because we want to have the fullness of God in our church, and that means using the fullness of the gifts that all of you have. But we love to have special music Wednesday nights, Sunday mornings. Again, just talk to me, let me know what you're thinking, and we'll get you plugged in. So speaking of plugging in, we have other opportunities for you to plug into the life of the church as well, including some new small groups that are starting or getting plugged into one that's already existing. We have a new small group that's starting on Tuesdays. On September 13th is when it's going to start, and then it's going to run on Tuesdays at 5:15 at the RB Grill House. And my understanding is that that is rock bottom. I think they just changed their name to RB Grill House, and so that's on Broadway, kind of the north side of town. And that is going to be a really informal, conversational kind of small group. It's really designed for people who maybe haven't been in a small group before or are uncomfortable with the idea of being in the church. But this is a great place and a great group to go and just kind of get your feet wet again a little bit and visit with people and have real honest conversations. And I love, so Carla Hummel is going to be leading that, and I love what she writes about it. She says, there's not going to be any real concrete answers. It's really about fellowship. It's about good discussion. It's about challenging one another and exploring Christian topics together. And how do we apply faith to our life? And I think that's the question we're always asking. And being a part of a small group helps to explore that. It helps to develop relationships with people and find people that you can really invest in. We also, Tuesday is kind of our small group day midweek. Tuesday at over the lunch hour from about noon to 1, I am doing a small group, and I do that throughout the year. We kind of change what we're doing, and right now we're doing this DVD series by someone called Rob Bell. Each week is its own lesson, and I have a bunch of them, and it's about a 10-minute video. We watch the video, and then we have a discussion based on where that video takes us. This week was our first one, and we did actually this one called Rain, and it was Rob Bell talking about taking his son for a walk, and it starts storming, and how his son got really upset. He was like about a year old, and how his whole reality was the storm, but Rob, as the father, knew that he could get him out of it, and how God really, when we are in the storms of life, how God is with us, how God delights when we draw close to him. And we just started talking, and there's a lot you can unpack in just that one story. And he used scripture, and this group had just gone through this covenant history study with me where we studied Genesis through Second Kings, and so we were able to draw on some of that discussion. And it's just fun to kind of let the Spirit lead and guide, and have some openness to what we're talking about. That one, because it's over the lunch hour, you want to bring food in and eat, great. If you're like, I can't eat and talk at the same time, that's fine too. It's really, again, kind of flexible and open-ended. Everyone is welcome to that. If that's something that you're interested in, if you would like to do this, but maybe Tuesdays at noon don't work for you, let me know. I'm open to doing another kind of section of this, another group of this at a different time, if there's interest in that. So please let me know. We also have a women's study group that meets on Sundays. We also have an adult Bible study that meets on Sundays. And so those are great ones to get plugged into as well. The end of September 25th, I believe. Let me look at my calendar. Yes, the last Sunday in September, after the worship service, we're going to be starting a 3-week new member class. So if you're interested in plugging in and joining the church here as a member, then we'd love to have you. It's going to be 3 weeks after the worship service, just talking about getting to know each other, talking about the church, talking about what it means to be a Christian and what it means to be United Methodist, and then answering questions and things like that. And so let me know if you're interested. Otherwise, you can just show up that first day. That's great too. But again, want you to be aware of that. We also, this summer, had a community garden here at the church. You've probably heard me talk about it on the podcast before. We are going to be canning on Thursday morning, September 8th, and that's going to be at 9:30. So just come, and if you have experience canning, great. If you don't, we do have some people that are experienced that are going to kind of help us out, and we'll have a little time of fellowship in the kitchen as we can some of our produce from our garden. We've also been giving away some of the produce of the garden to the different entities here in Yankton that help give out food for people. So the contact centers, food pantry, and things like that. So man, that's a lot that I've been talking about, but it's great. Also, next Wednesday, I forgot to talk about the fact that it's potluck. The meal next Wednesday is potluck, meaning you bring your favorite thing, and we'll have a little smattering sampling of food that night. And again, the idea is for fellowship. The idea is for us coming together. And then the worship service that night will include giving out fourth grade Bibles. The kids will be singing. We'll do fourth grade Bibles the next Sunday as well. We know we have one or two kids that'll be in worship on Sunday. And so again, just meeting people where they are, doing that. But that's the night we invite you to come check out what's happening on Wednesdays as everything kicks off. If you're going to be there for bells, come eat with us that night. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have whatever it is that you make. And so things are happening. We are launching. We also have magnets here for you to take that have the church info on it and our worship times. Throw it on your fridge. You'll have our email, you'll have our phone number. Our fax number got put on the magnet, so I've crossed them out and put our phone number because most of you probably won't be faxing us. But if you're wondering why that's like that, that's what happened. Those things happen when we have more than one number. So yeah, so many things happening. We're so excited. We're so excited to be having new people coming into the church, checking out what we're doing. It's been really fun to hear people talking and get excited about this Wednesday night opportunity where they've been wanting to be connected to the church, but their schedules have just prevented them. And then once you get out of the habit, it's so hard to get back into it. And so, the prospect of creating a new habit on Wednesday nights that just works for people a little bit better, we're really excited about that, because at the end of the day, our goal is to meet people where they are so that they can have a relationship with Jesus Christ. They can become a follower, a disciple, and that in doing so, then we begin to transform our world. And our world needs transformation. Our world needs the witness and the power of Christ to move in it and through it. So many people have bought into this narrative that we are so divided and that we have nothing in common and that we should fear the other, when that is so far from God's truth. That really we are called as the church to be invested in one another, to get to know one another, to love and pray for one another, and to continue to invite people into that kind of a life, which is such a better life. I mean, don't you want a life that where you feel supported, where you feel seen, where you feel understood? Even if you don't agree with everybody, that people will say there's more that we have in common than we have that differentiates us. And what we have in common that matters the most is our love for Jesus and our love for one another. And that's the kind of community that we're building here at First United Methodist. And I want you to be a part of that. And I want you to feel like you can invite other people to be a part of that. I just heard a story this morning of someone's neighbor who said, I see that you are so invested in your church. You're just doing stuff there all the time. And I want to be a part of that. And so they're coming. They're going to come with their neighbor is coming with them to church. Their neighbor wants to get plugged in because they see what that person is doing. And they're like, I want that life. I want that kind of life. Isn't that the essence of evangelism? Isn't that the essence of what we're all called to be doing? Living our life in such a way that other people look at us and say, I see something in you that I want. I want to be a part of it. And how do I do that? I mean, to me, that's the ultimate goal. And that's what I want to see our church like, is that I love my church. I love what we're doing. I love the people there. And I know that if you come, you're going to love it too. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're about. Again, connecting people to Jesus, connecting people to God, into a new kind of life, and a life where that you live it abundantly, that you have God's love in and flowing through you, that you know that you belong, that you know that you are redeemed, that you know that your brokenness is not all of who you are, that you can go somewhere and people see you for who God sees you as, that people will give you a chance, that people will give you the benefit of the doubt, that people will treat you with respect and dignity and love. That's the kind of church that we have. That's the kind of church that we long to be, and that we work to be, and that we strive to be. And we want you to be a part of that, because there is a place for you. There is space for you, and there is opportunity for you here. I believe that with my whole heart. Next week, we're going to be talking about how we plug into serving others, because not only is our faith about us, not only is it about plugging into our community and investing in one another and plugging into Jesus and making sure that we are filling our hearts and souls with the love of God and devoting ourselves to that, but it's also about loving our neighbors and about transforming the world. That's part of our mission. That's part of who we are. And so that's how we're going to conclude this plugging in series that we've been talking about. If you've missed any of the series, check out our YouTube page. We have our Sunday worship services up there. Also, our Facebook page. Every Monday, we have the scripture and sermon come out on there. So if you only have 15, 20 minutes, you can check it out there. We also do a sermon podcast along with this podcast that's totally audio. So maybe you're on the treadmill or you're out walking while the weather's still nice. You can be listening to it instead of having your face on a screen. Those are all available to you. And if you want to know more about what's happening in the life of the church, don't forget to sign up for our reminds. We have one for the entire church, one for the youth group, and one for our children's ministry. And one final thing, if you haven't turned in your slip about finding faith in movies, which is a series we're going to be doing in November, make sure you do that. I want to know your favorite children's movie, your favorite comedy, and your favorite drama. And I'm going to be picking from those to talk about looking for faith in these other areas of life, and being able to connect our faith in deeper ways. And so get those to me. It's been really interesting. I have a lot of movies to watch between now and then, but I'm excited to see what you guys love, because maybe I'll love it too. There's a lot that I have seen. There's a lot that I'm like, oh yes, love it, love it, love it. And a lot that I'm like, I've never even heard of this movie. So that's going to be fun for me. But until next time, I hope that you're having a great week. I hope to see you in worship either Sunday, and then you're staying for some coffee fellowship, or Wednesdays. Come early, eat with us, and then come to worship. There's a lot to love here. There's a lot to do here. And there is something for you to be a part of, and something where you can plug in and say, this is what I can give. This is what I can do. And if you're not sure what that is, come talk to me. I would be happy to help with that. Until next time, God bless. Thank you for joining us on this episode of What's Going On, a video and audio podcast of First United Methodist Church in Yankton, South Dakota. We'd love to have you join us for worship on Sundays, and we have two options available. 9 a.m. is our contemporary service, and 10:30 a.m. is our traditional service. You can find those online as well at our website, www.firstumcyankton.org, or on YouTube.